There's a moment that happens sometimes, not when something strange occurs, but right before it. A moment where nothing feels dramatic, nothing feels charged, nothing feels unusual. And later you realize that was the last normal moment. We came here for a weekend to explore a place we didn't fully understand. We didn't come trying to be convinced, and we didn't come expecting to be affected the way we were. But Cassadaga isn't about proving anything. It's about listening. And once you start really listening, you begin to notice things that don't announce themselves loudly. Some of what happened to us that weekend can be recorded, and some of it can't. Some experiences don't leave evidence behind. They leave impact. And whether you believe those moments were spiritual, psychological, emotional, or something else entirely, they were real to us. This isn't a story about ghosts or hauntings or chasing the unexplained. It's a story about what happens when you slow down enough to let a place change you. Welcome back to Greetings from Florida. I'm Joe Torino. This is part 3 and the final chapter of our series on Cassadaga, the psychic capital of the world. In part 1, we talked about belief, where spiritualism came from, why it mattered, and how a movement built around listening to the dead found its footing in American history. In part 2, we talked about place, how Cassadaga actually works, the difference between the town and the camp, and how belief survives when it has to live on real land with real people. But this episode isn't about convincing you of anything. It's about sharing what happened, honestly, carefully, and without trying to wrap it up in certainty. Some moments were quiet, some were emotional, and some were deeply personal. Some of them we still don't have clear explanations for. I went to Cassadaga with a big group of friends, and that includes Jenny and Armando with 305 Paranormal. I don't want to frame this entire episode through my perspective alone. So instead of narrating over them, I want to let them speak for themselves. Jenny and Armando, welcome to the show.
Hey,
Hey,
thank you, Joe.
Joe. Thanks for having us.
Of course, I'm happy to have you here. Let's start at the beginning, and when we were driving up to Cassadaga. What did you guys think that we were walking into that weekend? I know for myself, I had heard about Cassadaga, and I was just expecting it to be, all woo-woo and a bunch of weird-ass people all over the place, and it turned out to be not what I expected.
I don't know really what to expect. I felt like it was almost we were going to a mystical place that was like mysterious and magical.
I honestly didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. This was the first time to go to Cassadaga for all three of us. And it was kind of like that unknowing factor that I was so hyped up about and interested in going.
Were you skeptical about what you guys have heard about this place going up to that point, or were you just ready for anything?
I was more ready for anything, not expecting something, but excited to be there.
I was more excited about the three of us getting to hang out and go into a location that neither of the three of us had ever been to. You hear all these great things about Cassadaga and the history of it. So it was more of wanting to be part of that history, view the history, learn about the history. That's what was kind of like cool.
Day one started like any other Florida road trip. 3 friends in a car, cameras packed, coffee in hand. We were heading north with no real plan beyond showing up. Just having normal conversation with music playing low, Florida stretching out in front of us. None of us knew that within a few hours, we'd be standing in a place where the air itself felt different. And that first thing to greet us wouldn't be a voice, but a feeling. The word vortex gets thrown around a lot. Energy vortex, spiritual vortex, portal, gateway. It could sound dramatic, and it could sound made up. But in Cassadaga, people use the word differently. They're not talking about a spinning force or a tear in reality or anything cinematic. They're talking about felt experience. A place where your body reacts before your mind does. Pressure, lightness, dizziness, emotion without a clear source. Some people feel nothing. Some people feel a lot. Some feel something once and never again. The Cassadaga Hotel is said to sit near one of these spots, and the first time we encountered it, it wasn't during a tour. It was while we were on our way to the bathroom. I remember us talking about it that day, but I know that I encountered the vortex. I know that you did. I don't remember if Armando did or not, at least that first time going into the
Right.
building. But I remember talking to you and be like, did you feel that? Like it was in the hallway, right? Going up to the bathroom. Can you describe that for me? What you felt?
When we got out of the car, the first thing in our mind was to go find a restroom in the hotel. It's in a little back corner where you have to go through a hallway and make a left to even get in there. And as soon as you make a left, right there is where I felt dizzy, or like what people with vertigo, I guess, would feel like, where you get woozy. And I was like, whoa, what was that? And then didn't think much about it and went into the bathroom.
Armando, did you feel the same thing? Did you feel something different? Did you feel anything at all really in that section?
So what I noticed is a lot of the things that we felt on this trip, it almost always seemed like Jenny was first, Joe was second, and I was the last one to experience this. And the best way that I can describe it is when you go into those like haunted house at like a fair and they have that room where it's a straight room, but the room is actually spinning in circles and you kind of get a little disoriented. That's how it felt to me, but also like a rush came to me. And that was one of the common occurrences that the three of us had in this trip.
Did it change your mood for the rest of the night?
It was more of a what just happened to us, because we all experienced the same thing. We're all kind of like a little perplexed, and we can explain the emotions and what we felt, but we couldn't explain why up to that point.
Jenny, did it make you feel emotional at all, or did it give you a physical sensation?
Yes, I just felt dizzy. But since that was the first time I can think of that happened to me, it piqued my curiosity. And being that happened in Cassadaga itself was like, okay, there's something going on here.
And that's the thing about vortexes in Cassadaga. You don't always feel them where you're told you will. They're not attractions, they're moments. And once you've felt one, it changes how you move through the rest of the place. You become quieter, more observant, less eager to explain, which is exactly the state we were in when we arrived at the Ann Stevens house. The Ann Stevens house sits just outside the camp boundaries. A historic bed and breakfast built in the late 1800s, long before Cassadaga became what it is today. It has its own history, its own stories, and its own energy. The Ann Stevens house has stories of objects moving, children's voices, a doll believed to be connected to Ann Stevens herself, and physical sensations like touches, pressure, or presence. Like the hotel, people talk about vortexes here too, especially near the gazebo behind the house. But we didn't start outside. We started upstairs. Armando, can you tell me how you felt when we first pulled up to the Ann Stevens house?
Oh, absolutely. It was breathtaking, honestly. Just thinking back at that night, we got there. We were parked under these huge trees, and when we got out, everything was lit up like if you were going through a picture of fair or a festival at night, and you see all these lights lighting up the night sky, and you get to a beautiful, historic, well kept building. Amazing, amazing location.
Jenny, what were any impressions that you got when we first got to the Ann Stevens house?
I was just amazed at how beautiful the house was because I hadn't seen a house like that. It reminded me of a dollhouse. I fell in love with it instantly, and it felt very welcoming to me. That was my first impression. I loved it, and I wanted to be inside of it. I was happy to be there. That welcoming feeling really was what took over.
Over the years, the house has carried stories of long-term stays, quiet grief, and lives lived in waiting. Most famously, it's associated with a room known as the War Bride Suite. The War Bride Suite doesn't feel dramatic. It feels sad, heavy, still, like the air hasn't finished holding its breath. The story goes that a woman named Helen lived in that room while her husband was away at war. She waited and waited and waited. He never came home. That night we were quiet, respectful, focused. I asked a simple question, not expecting an answer.
Helen, did your husband pass in the war?
Later, we listened back. We heard a woman's voice, soft, broken.
He
He didn't. He didn't come back.
I was just remembering how pretty it was. And just to know that it was such an old house and they would use it for brides to stay there while their husbands were at war and they're just waiting there and helping with the house. It's just a part of history. So to me, that's what I was thinking about.
We captured an EVP in there. We captured quite a few EVPs in that room, actually. And one of the voices that came through was of a woman named Helen. And there's a specific EVP. We ask the question, did your husband pass in the war? And the response that we got was, he didn't make it. Armando, do you remember hearing that back for the first time and the feeling you got listening to that come back?
Yeah, it was actually two different experiences that I had listening to this EVP. One was a feeling of shock, because us being investigators and doing this for so long, I still get excited for EVPs and hearing what it is that we captured. So it was a shock and amazement that we got a response that was relevant to what it was that we were asking. And it immediately turned into sadness, a feeling of loneliness that I can feel from this individual coming to the realization that he never was coming back. Must have been heartbreaking, and I felt it.
It's definitely one of the more sad responses that we've gotten. And like you said, the fact that it just lined up exactly with what that room specifically was used as, it couldn't have been more perfect. We were able to use a tool to help us experience that. Do you think that that takes away from the emotional feeling, or do you think that it really doesn't make a difference whether you're using a tool or not? Jenny, what do you feel about that?
No, I don't feel like it takes away that we're using a tool or not, because like Armando said, I had the feeling of shock at first that we got a reply, but also an immediate sense of melancholy. I can picture this lady there waiting in just almost depression and just her thoughts of waiting and waiting and waiting and just that sadness. So it doesn't matter with a tool or not, we still got those feelings or those impressions.
And just to piggyback off of that, all three of us, we have our spouses, and it's easy for us to kind of put ourselves in her shoes. And another thing too, listening back to that EVP, regardless of whether we heard it as a disembodied voice or we used equipment to hear it, I believe that was important for Helen, just to be able to have her voice heard, and just to give her that opportunity to just vent to anybody that can have the ability to hear her. So I think it was important for us as investigators to be in that moment and capture that. But I think the other side of the point as well, I think it was important for Helen just to be able to let it out.
Later that night, something happened that none of us expected. Armando was standing in an upstairs room when he suddenly felt pressure. Not brushed, not imagined. He was pushed. Now, Armando, what went through your mind in that moment when you felt that push?
Going through the scenario of, all right, who pushed me? Who's behind me? But at that point in time, it was only the three of us upstairs. The two of you were inside of the closet, and I was in the doorway of the closet. So obviously, there's no one else up there. Who was that? Secondly, I felt what was like a hooking sensation. It felt like two fingers hooked under my shoulder blade. And that's what caused me to get pushed forward into the frame of the closet. And it was such an awkward thing because I have been touched on the exterior portion of my body, but that was the first time that I was affected internally. And I just didn't know what to think of it. That feeling didn't go away immediately. It was there for a few minutes. I would say even as later on in the night, 30, 45 minutes later, I still felt the like that feeling of the fingers being under my shoulder blade.
You guys are married, you guys have been together for a very long time, and you've been investigating with Armando for a very long time. How was it seeing him react that way? Something that's not typical for him.
When I saw him jerk forward, I just looked at him like, what happened? I know he was in shock, but I was in shock that even happened because it was something that was so unexpected. That was very powerful, where spirit could do that, and that's the first time we had witnessed that. So it was eye-opening for us, especially being at that location. We've never been there. We didn't know what to expect. So when that happens, it's even more like we got to be more cautious, or we don't know what we're dealing with at that location.
So when something happens like that, like, does it give you like fear, or are you just more curious? Are you more afraid of what's going on there?
I didn't get a fear feeling. Very curious and just confused. Like, what was that? Who was that? Why did it do that?
And Armando, did it change how you moved through the house after that?
I believe it was more of a cautious as to, did I do something wrong? Did we say something we shouldn't have? Was I standing somewhere, or were we standing somewhere that perhaps spirit didn't want us to be in? We didn't know, and at that point, more questions than answers were being brought to us.
When the table tipping began, something shifted. It was controlled, measured, intentional. And for all of us, it was the first time seeing it happen in person. I remember we were upstairs in the closet where Armando had gotten pushed when we first hear these scraping sounds, and we're like, what the hell is going on outside? And when we come out, there's just a group of people on the back patio, and we just see this table, 3 people on it, and this thing is just slipping and sliding all up and down that back porch. Jenny, what did you think when you first saw this?
A little bit chaotic. I wasn't expecting it because this was our very first time seeing this in person, seeing any type of table tipping, any type of old spiritualist practice that would have been done back in the day. I didn't know what to expect, but it was so loud that we heard it from upstairs. We had to know what was going on downstairs. And they're laughing, and you can hear them talking loud, and just a lot of excitement.
Armando, what was the hardest part for you to rationalize about what you were seeing?
So I'm seeing these folks go around and round on this table, and it kind of felt like a tornado, if you will, or a twister. And you just see that thing get a life of its own, and it's taking people with them in a circular motion. I remember the 3 of us just being perplexed as to what was going on. Why was this happening? Was it being manipulated by one of the folks on the table? At that point, you guys were trying it, and I had been asked to film. We were there filming this for a TV show. I'm there with the camera and I'm going under the table to see if there's any cables, manipulating it, somebody pulling the strings, and if not, and I'm taking every single angle, and I can see with my own eyes and the camera lens, this is not being manipulated at all.
Right.
And it's something that is easily to talk bad about and say that it doesn't work, but until you actually try it yourself, that's when you will become a believer. And when you put your hands on that table and you feel the vibration, that table starts getting a life of its own. The hairs on your neck, on your arms start going up, and you feel little bolts of electricity, kind of like, Star Wars, where Luke is getting zapped by the lightning strikes. That's what it reminded me of. It
It's
was
like
kind of like
Palpatine shooting off.
Palpatine. Yeah, it felt just like Palpatine, I kind of like visualized blue lightning coming from the table into my hand, and just to see it go from completely still to taking my ass on a spin. It was very impressional.
Yeah, I remember walking outside, the three of us, the group of everybody, and I look over and I'm like, I think these people are freaking nuts. Like, what the hell is going on here? And then like Jenny jumped on it first, I remember, and like we were both filming for him. I had like a little tiny a little camera, and my camera aim was only on like their fingers, because you're supposed to, we always talked about spider webs, or like, like just lightly touching the table with the tips of your fingers. And I was like just focused on everybody's fingers to make sure that nobody was pressing down, and nobody was. That table was bouncing everywhere on that back patio, and it was nuts. It was the table was dancing. It was a dancing table. It was the
Yeah.
craziest thing I've ever seen. And I mean, we've done it all several times since then, but I don't think that it ever compares to that first time that we ever did that there in Cassadaga.
100%.
Yeah. With the mystery of it, just first time experiencing it and not ever seeing it live in person, you can't take that experience away.
Behind the Aunt Stevens house, tucked just past the tree line, there's a gazebo. Just wood, benches, and open air. People say there's a vortex nearby. Some feel it immediately, while some don't feel it at all. But what happened here wasn't about energy in the ground. It was about the people. That night there were more of us. Friends who lived in the camp, professional mediums, teammates, a mix of belief, skepticism, experience, and trust. A spirit box session started. Casual, almost secondary to the conversation we were already having. And then a name came through. A friend. Someone who had passed away earlier that year. Someone known personally by all the people sitting with us. 4 direct responses. Just enough for the people who needed to know. The spirit didn't come through to warn us, or teach us, or prove the afterlife. They came through to say hi. That's it. There's no recording of this moment, and that feels right. Because not everything meaningful needs to become evidence. Some things are allowed to stay human, allowed to stay between the people who were there. And when we left that gazebo, something felt opened.
we're kind of all exhausted from doing the table tipping. And there was some folks that were at the gazebo, which is just a few steps away from where we were on that porch. We sit down and we start doing an SB session. And we had one of the mediums with us, Jody, a friend of ours, was with us, and our one of our mentors, Scotty Burns, was with us, and we're doing an SB session, and the questions just started coming up where she started getting an inkling that perhaps we're speaking to a friend of ours.
Now, all three of us were there, as well as several other people besides Scotty and Jody. There was a bunch of friends were all together. What was your reaction when that name came through? When they asked like, "Who's this?" and we hear this name for the first time.
It was the following question, which was Scotty's, almost like a security question that only her and Tim would have known.
Mhm.
Is that response is what really landed for me, where I was like, whoa. And that was unbelievable for me.
And of course, Tim, she's referring to is Tim Yancey. He was a friend and teammate of our three of us. He was very well known in the paranormal, very well respected person. But hearing his name coming through, I know for me was like freaking shocking. And the reason for that is because at that point, I was pretty much still on the fence about spirit boxes in general. It was literally this night that convinced me that there's something to a spirit box, because you hear who's this? Tim Yancey. And then Scotty's like, "What is the name of your dog?" Peanut. What is the name? What kind of cookies did I do? Peanut butter. I forgot the other. Is this really Tim? And then the response coming out to Scotty, "Hey you."
Hey,
Mhm.
The
you.
way, "Hey
It was
you."
a greeting.
I will never forget that. That to
Yeah.
me is still like one of the most amazing experiences that we've had with spirit. Like honestly, it's something I won't forget. And like I said, I thought that at this point the spirit box was horseshit, and now it's one of my favorite tools. That's also the night where I learned to use the spirit box the way that I like to use a spirit box, which is recording my sessions, kind of how we do a burst EBP session, 2 or 3 questions max, and then playing it back on slow motion, and you get so much more responses this way. That's how we were able to really hear those things, and it was crazy. It was literally Tim Yancey, straight up came through like that. "Hey you," like in his cadence and everything. "Hey you."
Exactly.
Uh, it's wild. It's still to me one of the most, I'd say, on my paranormal journey, if we want to call it that, I think it's literally one of the most important and impactful nights ever. And the fact that it wasn't like something like it was just spontaneous, we were literally hanging out as friends. We weren't recording anything. We were just bullshitting, having a good time together. And then this comes out like that. I think it just made it that much more special and that much more real.
Yeah. And when he did come out and talk and giving the responses that was coming through, all I can, thinking back at it now, all I can remember is just looking at Scotty's face, because I know like what she was thinking, and like, damn,
Yeah.
this is him. He's here with us. And then the people who were even more closer with him and that have been around him longer, like they were just so touched emotionally. You can feel that.
By the end of the first night, we were tender. Like something had been stirred up that hadn't settled yet. Not fear, not adrenaline, emotion. And none of us knew what to do with it yet, which is why the next day mattered more than we expected. Because Cassadaga doesn't rush you out of experiences. It gives you space afterward. The next morning didn't feel heavy, and that surprised me. After everything the night before, I expected a kind of hangover. But Cassadaga doesn't rush you out of experiences. It gives you space afterward. Went back to the Aunt Stevens house briefly, and then we headed into the camp itself for readings. This was the part of the weekend none of us had fully prepared for. Not because we were afraid, but because we didn't understand it. At least I didn't. We'd spent the last 2 episodes talking about spiritualism as history, as structure, as belief. But this was practice. One-on-one, quiet, intentional. Each of us sat down separately, and yet, the result was the same. By the end of it, we were all crying. I don't want to narrate these readings, not because they were unbelievable, but because they were specific. They belonged to us. They touched grief we hadn't named yet. They brought up people we hadn't planned to talk about. They landed on emotional truths we didn't realize we were carrying. And none of it felt like spectacle. It felt like recognition. So, had either of you gone through a reading before? Not a psychic reading, but a mediumship reading, because this is a specific thing that we were doing. This is a spiritual mediumship reading. Had any of you experienced anything like that before doing this?
I don't think so. I think that was the first time we went in for a mediumship reading.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What did you guys think this was going to be all about for you?
For me, I didn't know what to expect. I went in only wanting to hear from a specific person that I missed a lot. And then coming out, I don't think it was her, but it was more somebody on my mom's side that now I've noticed a lot of mediums actually do pick up, and that person is with me. So that was unexpected, very unexpected.
Armando, I remember us talking about this, and I remember you specifically, this being a very profound session for you.
Yeah. So I'm seeing you guys have your readings, and it was like a rush of fear came because I already didn't know what to expect, and I saw how you guys were affected, and it was like, who's gonna come for me? What am I going to hear? And at that point in time, one of my uncles had just passed, and to hear about him, it brought a sense of peace, knowing that he was okay. It was an interesting experience. I'd never experienced anything like that before, and you would think, like, I'm seeing you guys go through your experience, and I wasn't prepared. Well, you know what? Let me scratch that. None of us were prepared for that.
True, 100%. With my reading, I know I felt a sense of like peace with it. Like, did you feel the same thing, Armando, with your reading? Or did you feel something different? Did you feel more grief?
No, I felt better afterwards, because I almost treated it like my way of being able to say goodbye. And I made sure the next 2 people that had passed that were impactful in my life, our mentor and my other uncle that was like a father figure to me, I wanted to be sure that I was with them, just to be able to say my final goodbye. I think that was super important to me, and I'm always going to be forever grateful to this experience to be able to have my final goodbye with that uncle.
After this reading, did it change how you understood spiritualism, Jenny?
I believe yes, starting from the gazebo session all the way to the next day when we had our reading, because the thought of them using this to deal with grief or closure, or just to be able to get messages from the other side from our past loved ones, and just knowing that they're not truly ever gone. We can communicate with them or get signs from them, and they're with us throughout our lives.
There's a misconception that people come to Cassadaga looking for proof. That's not what I saw. People come looking for acknowledgement. And sometimes, when it happens quietly enough, that's more powerful than certainty. When people ask what Cassadaga is like, I don't know how to answer anymore. Cassadaga didn't give us answers. What it gave us were moments. Moments of listening. Moments of recognition. Moments that didn't need proof to matter. We went there not fully understanding spiritualism, not fully understanding what we were walking into. And we left different. Not because of ghosts, not because of phenomena, but because of how calm it felt, how human it felt, especially inside the boundaries of the camp. Some places shout their meanings. Cassadaga whispers. And whatever you believe, those whispers have a way of following you home. Not as answers, but as questions you don't mind carrying. So Jenny, would you go back to Cassadaga?
Yeah, I would. I would like to spend more time there and excuse me, more time there and just tuning into myself instead of trying to not be there during an investigation, but experiencing the town itself and kind of like the childlike magic that comes along with it.
Armando, did you leave with more answers or more questions?
I always used to beat myself up because it was trying to answer these questions and just having more and more questions than answers. And it was kind of like, man, am I ever gonna get to being able to answer everything? And it was more of a time to reflect on, I think I need to appreciate more of the ride instead of trying to answer everything. I absolutely want to go back to Cassadaga. You can go and investigate at Waverly Hills Sanitarium, Penhurst Asylum, the Conjuring House. You can go to all of these places and you will not experience what we experience at Cassadaga. It's truly a different kind of experience. And I would encourage everyone, if you can, please go.
All right. Can you tell everybody where they could find you guys?
Yeah, so everyone can find us at 305 Paranormal on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And every Sunday, we have a live show called Spooked Coast to Coast that we host with our wonderful friends on the west coast of the United States, Joy and Joy from JJ Paranormal. And we interview different guests from all over the supernatural spectrum, I would say. And we just have a good time. So check us out.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. And everybody listening, thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you for listening to this episode. And stay weird. Greetings from Florida is written, researched, and narrated by me, Joe Torino. Sound design and production by yours truly, with original theme music by Modern Mimes. You can find more stories, photos, and episode extras at @FloridaPod on Instagram, and visit FloridaPod.com for links to listen on any platform, plus the official merch store. And if you like what you hear, share the show, leave a review, or tell a friend who loves a little weird with their history. And as always, stay weird, Florida. We'll see you next time.